We had seen creating the pipeline and building and doing the testing. Jyoti was asking question like we have done continuous build so far, but we have not done continuous testing and all, right? So the continuous testing, right? Whenever a developer writes the code, he will be able to do the unit testing, right? Unit testing, quality check of code check, right? Quality check of the code and like the scanning of the code, all these things will be done by the developer. So those things we are going to integrate, we are going to do the continuous integration. That means we'll include the build, will include the test, will include the code scanning and everything in our code. And then after the integration is done, then we are going to deliver it. So the code integrations like the code scanning and code testing, that will cover as part of our sonar queue class. Okay, we have a separate class for the sonar queue. There I'll show you how we can set off a sonar queue server. Okay, then because that is the real time you will be going to work on your organizations or company. So you should know how to set up the sonar queue. But normally what happens, the companies and the organization who have definitely installed and created the sonar queue scan or sonar queue server before you join the company. You may join a startup company, or you may join a company who is starting the DevOps process or DevOps recently, and you may get a chance to do everything from the scratch. So I'll show you everything from the scratch so that you can able to also do whatever your company is providing you to do. Okay, now today what we'll do, we'll see in our last class there was a broken SS connectivity broken, due to that we are not able to see the continuous delivery and deployment part. So today we'll cover that one. Also we'll see in the pipeline how we'll read some properties file and all these things. Okay, those things also will cover today. Apart from that, morning also Jyoti was asking another question like how multiple in the beginning, right, when we started the Jenkins overview, that we had seen like freestyle job, all the users cannot update the code and all, but instead of in case of pipeline job, what again all the users or many users can update the job and run it. So how we can achieve that? So this part also we'll see today. Also I'll try to show you the master and slave architecture setup. So in this short time I'll try to cover all this important topic today, and hope everyone understand what I'm going to show you today. And just do practice, because this part will be a little advanced, and it will be definitely you'll get questions out of that whenever you go for the interviews. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let me just log into our Jenkins server. Okay, so started. Meanwhile, I can start the Tomcat server as well. Okay, so let me start this.
Sir, are you sharing your screen?
No, let me
Please share this.
let me sharing my screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hope everyone can see my screen now. So I'm just starting the server. Uh, I just logged. Let me log in. See. Okay, so what we had seen in our last class, this job, right? My first part-time project. It was failing due to some connectivity issues. Though it was working for manually when we connect from the remote server, like from the master server uh, to the Tomcat server, it was connecting. However, using the SSH client, it's not able to connect to the server. So I'll show you in a different way today how you use, and that will be being used in your project very frequently. Okay, so what you have to do, I'll show you how we can generate the pipeline scripts by using the snippet generator. I already have made a videos and put in on YouTube separately on that particular topic. But today I'll also show you on those areas now. Okay, let me go here. If you go and check this pipelines project, right? Before that, what I can say here, just go and do configure. And what you need, you have to just go down, because here we are going to work on this feature pipeline hyphen 1.2 branch. This is the branch which we are going to work on. Now what I need, in the below, right, in this pipeline syntax, pipeline tab below, you'll see one pipeline syntax option will be there. So what it does, it will let you generate the pipeline syntax by using the snippet generator. Okay, so how you'll do that? There are many steps, right? Whenever you're writing the pipeline script, pipeline Jenkins file, there will have multiple stages, right? Multiple stages, and within that multiple stages, will have multiple steps. So the steps is nothing but the individual task which you are going to execute as part of the stage block, right? So you have to choose the step which you want to do. Select. There will be multiple hundreds of steps available here, and it's up to you. And these are just whatever we are seeing. That means whatever the plugins installed in the master server, based on that we are seeing these steps, we are seeing these options, right? If you feel the particular options you are not able to see it, what you can do, you can install that particular plugin to get that options or steps available here. Okay, so in our case, what do we need? We need to deploy the code, right? So let me just log into the GitHub. You go to the repository here. So here, if I go to the branch feature 1.2, okay, and this Jenkins file, I'm going to directly update it here. Okay, I'm going to directly update it here. So what I'll do it here, I was showing you these options by connecting manually, or by using the SSH client, by SSH command. We are just securely copying this file to the server. This is one type of deployment you can do. That's why in the beginning of the class DevOps overview, I said it's a mindset, right? DevOps is not a technology or anything you have to follow. It's a mindset you have to follow, where you can automate the stuff whatever you are familiar with, whatever you are strong with, and whatever you feel can be a sustainable and robust code which can be used for many programming or many automations, right? That you can use. Now what I need, as it is not working due to some net security issues or due to some issues, what I do, I'll just remove this. So our main part is, we need to deploy the application into the staging server, or we need to deliver the application into the staging server. So how we'll do that? Okay, what we can do here, just go to the snippet generator, to the pipeline syntax, how to create the pipeline syntax. Okay, now you can select here, one options will be called deploy. Okay, deploy var to a container. Okay, select this and provide the var file. What is the file you want to deploy? So that is the command /star.var. This is the file I want to deploy. And the context path, what is this context path? By default, the context path of each web server or any tool, it will have a default context path. If you want to override the context path, then you have to specify where do you want to upload this var file. Then you have to specify here. As I am going to use the default one, so I'll just leave this context path. Okay, now the containers. So you have to select the containers, which container you want to deploy your application. So here we have different web servers like Glassfish, JBoss, right, Tomcat and all there. So as I have installed Tomcat 7, right, we have installed Tomcat 7. Select Tomcat 7 here. Now here we need the credentials to connect to the Tomcat. We already have set up this Tomcat credentials. Now the Tomcat URL, you know how to get the URL, Tomcat URL. So let me go and refresh this. I have this Tomcat URL. This is the server. This is the instance. I have made it as Tomcat URL. Okay, Tomcat server. So what you can do here, sorry, not here, go to and paste the Tomcat server here, and make sure you should have provide the complete URL, not just the IP address. You have to just provide the complete URL like http slash slash, and here it should be, and our Tomcat server is running on port number 8282, and you have to provide colon 8282. The port number you must have to provide the port number, otherwise it will not work. Okay, now you understood how to provide the Tomcat URL. Now let me just check whether the Tomcat server is up or not, or is running or not. I think it will not be running, so I have not started the Tomcat server. Let me just go ahead and quickly start it. So I'll just go little fast today. If you have any doubt, you can just ask me in between, or else we'll try to finish it quickly. Okay, so I'll just connect to the server. Okay, then our Tomcat is installed. Opt Tomcat. You should go to the bin and sudo catalina.sh start. So Tomcat server is started. Go here, refresh this page, and we can see our Tomcat server will be running fine. And you can just, this is your Tomcat server URL. Okay, so if you don't provide this, it will not work. Just provide 8282. Fine, done. Now what we can do here, we got our Tomcat URL. Now that's all. So we provided the Tomcat credentials, Tomcat URL, the file which you want to deploy and all. So if you click on this generate pipeline script, what it will do, it will generate the script, the syntax which you need to use in your pipeline script. Just copy the entire line. Okay, just copy the entire line, and you can see here the credentials ID. It, what is this credential ID, guys? Can anybody tell? Can anybody tell where it gets the credential ID and what is this? If you remember, sometimes I already have shown you. If you remember, and if you can correlate this credentials ID, how it gets the credentials ID?
It's a GitHub that passcode, kind of hash code.
It's not the GitHub as code. Okay, so what happens here?
Private key.
No. So what happens here? If you see these credentials, right? We have this credential set off in our Jenkins server. This credential set off in our Jenkins server. So while setting up this credential, it creates a credential ID. It creates a credential ID. Based on the credential ID, Jenkins will fetch the user ID and password and then try to connect to the Tomcat server or any GitHub server or whatever you are going to work. So the credentials ID is the ID, whatever the credentials we set off in our Jenkins manage credentials section. Okay, based on the ID, it will find out there will be many credentials, right? There will be 5, 10 or 15 credentials will be available. So which credentials will choose? So based on the credential ID, and this is the unique ID will be used to that. Okay, now what you can do, we can simply copy this part. Okay, simply copy this part and go to your code and paste it here. So what I can do after this, I will paste it. Now we got this URL, you can paste it here, and this is the environment details which we had as part of this environment section, so we have kept it. Now let me remove these parameter sections. I don't need this. Okay, I don't need this. Now everything seems good. Okay, fine. Now let me just commit the changes. I committed the changes. Now if I go here, go to your project, and what I can do, I can simply click build with parameters. Okay, so it still gives the build with parameters because the server is still treating this, we are sending the parameters, because we, in this case, what we need, once the build is started, right, once the build is started, it will not ask any parameters anymore. Okay, so let me just remove this build. Now started this 2022, sorry, 22 build number. Okay, it is success now. So we can see here it is success. If you see the logs here, so Jyoti, you were telling, right, how these things being worked, the testing and all, unit testing and all. If you see the complete logs here, right, so it does the compilation. Okay, it does the compilation and it does the test also. It does the unit test also. No test to run because we have not set up anything. Okay, so it does the testing based on what, it could be a questions also, right, based on the XML file, right, pom.xml file. In case of Java, in case of Java, it is a pom.xml and setting.xml file. Based on that, the Jenkins will start working on that. If you are building any .NET application or any other applications, there would be different set of files or different configurations file which will Jenkins read and work on that. Okay, we'll see all details on the SonarQube and all these things in our upcoming classes. Okay, don't worry for that. Now we can see the build is success and all these parts. So the variables, environment variables, whatever it displays here, and the DevOps bar. So now if I go here and just simply do DevOps wave, good, it just gives, it gives very old batch. Okay, DevOps class version 2.0 batch 4, it gets very old batch. Okay, now if I go, let's go ahead and little modify it. Okay, let's go ahead and little modify the code. Go to the templates, so it is, I can just give it anything 2.5. Okay, just version 2.5, commit changes. So here what does, here is the real continuous development happens, continuous development and continuous build happens. What happens here, as the developer is required to change some functionality into the application code, he is coming here and just changing the code. He no need to do anything else. What he has to do, only simply commit the code, that's all, and the rest of the things will done by the Jenkins. Okay, that part is still we have not set up. I'll show you as part of our webhook class. Okay, webhook and git hook trigger class, but I'll show you just after this one syntax build. Okay, now what happens, now let me manually, because so far we are just manually building it, just manually clicking this build and also. So you can see here now, uh, as soon as we run the first build, the parameter options has gone. Now there is no build with parameters is option there, because we removed the parameters from the pipeline script. Now just click on the build now, and we'll have this 23 build. Now let's go ahead, let it complete. Okay, 23 is completed. If I go here, refresh this page, so we can see our application, new version of application is deployed into the server or delivered into the staging server. Okay, 2.5. Now before moving towards automatic, complete automatic of the things, let me add something, how to read the properties file and all, right? So if I go here, okay, now let's go quickly to the code and add something in the first. What we need a properties file. Okay, the properties file, suppose in whoever have some development knowledge and have already been worked with development team, they would be they'll be definitely seeing the file like the properties file, right? Either build.properties or build.ini file or any file, or build.configuration file, or any kind of file which you need your data to be retrieved or data to be fetched during the build in the Jenkins file or in the pipeline code. So how we'll do that? Let me first add a simple file called build dot configuration cnf, build.cnf. I just add a file name called build.cnf, and suppose I need the file name, like suppose the parameters what I'm going to add, like suppose deploy dot app name equal to, and this is as a app name is DevOps wave, right? Just put DevOps wave here, and I need some environment. I need, because see, this is where the development team put all the unique, all the codes which will be used entirely in the code. Okay, that you can, what happens if in case in future if you want to change something, you can directly come here and change it. Okay, let me quickly write it down. Deploy, I can say env environment. Okay, you can see here sandbox, something like this, and I can see deployment type, you can see is as staging, or I can see production. Okay, deployment type prod, I can see deployment version. Okay, deploy dot version, I can just give us 1.2.1. This is the version. Okay, something like that. I just provided all the configurations here. Okay, now let's commit this one. Now the thing is how I need to access, how I can access this build.cnf file in our Jenkins file. Okay, now let's open this Jenkins file. Let's edit it. What we need, we can just add a code in the deployment part or anywhere. If you want to build it, you can build it in the build part also. You can use that code anywhere in the Jenkins file, you can access the code. So how you'll access it, again we have to use this snippet generator. Okay, here what happens, there is a option, there is an options, or there is a step where you can see read the properties file. If you just open this one, you'll find something like called read properties file or read manifest file, read maven pom file, even you can read the maven project file. Okay, maven pom.xml file. If you want to get something from the pom.xml file, you can still use this read maven pom, and you can get the informations whatever you want. And for read properties file, if you want to give any properties file, if you want to read, you can simply get it here and read the properties file. Okay, suppose I want this read properties file to use to read the data. That's why you can see lots of things, guys. I would just give a task to you, just do some R&D here, go whatever you want, try to do. You see failures, you will see lots of things, but try to fix it. Okay, try to fix it, you'll come to know a lot more things and different ways how we can automate the stuff. Okay, now let me select this read properties file, and what it says, okay, this part is not required anymore. Let me delete this. This was okay. Anyway, it will not be deleted. Once we click generate pipeline script, it will generate a new one. Fine. What it says, this is a special step and is not required, or no snippet is available. Just click on this generate pipeline. So it just gives a method here, it just gives a function name read properties, that's all. But how to use this read properties, if you see the help here, you'll find it out how to read this Java properties file. Okay, it has all the details. Now you can see the examples here, defined and all. See, these things are actually you have to write under a script. This will not work directly. But in case of deploy, if we see here, what happens, we directly added into the steps here. But what you have to do in case of this, you have to, because this defined this a variable and which will not be defined in the pipeline declarative script, declarative method. This should be used in the scripted method. That means you have to use the Groovy script here, scripted method. So how you will use that one? Simply what you do, just copy this line. Okay, just copy this line example, or you can just write it whatever you feel. And suppose I want to add into this deploy to productions part. Let me just add it. And remember, as it is a script, so there would be a questions comes actually in the interview. Normally what I asked to my candidate, whatever the interview person will come, I used to ask how to execute a script, or execute a script command, or execute a command within the declarative pipeline. If you have real time have experience or work, you can easily answer by using the script block. You can execute the commands. So I will, suppose I'll just put it here simply. Let's for example, okay, I'll just simply, okay, I don't need this def, we'll leave it. And read properties, I don't need this part, leave it. And this is also not required. So what I need a variable, I need this read properties method, I need the file which I want to read it. So here you can say it gives a directory and the properties file name. But in our case, the properties file or the configurations file is there in directly in the base folder, the parent folder. So I don't need this directory to provide. In case of you have a subdirectory in the parent folder or parent directory, you can provide the subdirectory name to access the file. This is the example given here. So I just remove this part, just mention build.cnf here. Okay, this is the properties file which going to be read by this method. Now how I'll access this? So it is just reading this one. How will access the value? Simple. What you have to do, you have to just use, I'm just giving a echo command here to display something, echo. And so suppose I'll just give version of this application. Okay, current version, like current version. What I can do here, I can use dollar curly braces. Inside that, I'll just provide this variable, okay, and then provide the bracket. Sorry, yes, provide the square bracket, and there you have to just put the you have to put the variable name in the properties file. So one of the name was, so we'll just put within the single quote, put deploy dot version. So the current version is deploy dot version. So this deploy dot version will be fetched from build.cnf. That's all. This is what we saw it now. We saw how to use the snippet generator to deploy, and we saw it successfully deployed. And now we are going to add another one to read the file inside the Jenkins file, okay, inside the pipeline code. So how you will do that? We added it here. Now let's commit the changes. Quickly go to the Jenkins here, start build now. Okay, it immediately failed. It immediately failed. So what happens here? It is actually failed because it is syntax error. So we cannot run this script or this command directly within the steps. We need the this to be executed under the script block. So how you will execute this? Go ahead, edit this and put this syntax, this particular syntax under script block. You have to write a script, remember script, okay, and with curly braces. That's all. This will be executed as per of the script. Now let me just commit the changes. This is very simple. Definitely, if you are going to be interviewed by a professional, experienced Jenkins developer, Jenkins automation engineer, and definitely he or she might ask you questions on this. Okay, because that is commonly we'll use in the real time. Now I have just added everything here. Now let me go ahead and build this again. Build now. So now the 25th build is running. So let it complete. We'll see the outputs. Okay. Let's go to the outputs and see. Okay, so it is success, and we can see here it also fetches the current version is 1.2.1. So the current version is 1.2.1. Okay, you know how to set up all these things. Okay, now if there is a changes, if the application version is changed and that to be updated into the pipeline script, so we don't have to. So developer, so actually what happens, the DevOps engineer is now, I am the DevOps engineer and I got the requirement from the development team and I have set up everything in my Jenkins. Now whenever we hand over this total automations to the development team not necessarily come to the pipeline script and update until unless he is familiar with Jenkins. He will not come and update the pipeline script. So that's why we have created the properties file and configurations file where the development team can directly come here and update, right? So I'll show you the real time how it works. So developers suppose need to update the versions, he'll simply come here and just update the version here 1. Suppose 2.2. okay, commit the save the changes. So what happens here, and that time this is the semi automated actually, and once the developer has changes the code and he has to come to the Jenkins and manually trigger the build. So what happens here, either how we can do the trigger we already have seen by using the poll SCM, poll source code manager. That means we have to wait at least 1 minute the job to execute. Okay, now you can see here, if I go to the log, we can see the version has changed to 1.2.1. So the developer did not change anything in the Jenkins file. He just updated everything in the build.configuration or build.properties file. Good. Now, how this can automate it? We don't have to.
Sir, one doubt I have.
Yeah, please.
So in the logs, I can see like for staging, 2 times the command are running. If you come down,
1 second.
production it was 1.
Yes.
So yeah, for staging, I can see like deploy to stage. So first it is saying like it is redeploying, and in second statement it is saying like deploying. So what is the difference?
Acha, this deploy to staging, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens here? It is redeploying and then it does undeploying. What Jenkins is so clever. What it does is checks the war file. If it finds any changes, okay. If it finds any changes, then it will deploy. What it does is just redeploying, and it says there is no changes and it is on deploying it. It's just on deploying this DevOps. That means we will have the current, the previous version of the war file. We have not changes anything to the application, right? We just changed to the versions of 1.2, like the configurations file. We did not, the build was the old build, it is not done. So if we change anything, what it will do, it will first redeploy, then on deploy it, try to undeploy the previous one and deploy the current versions. Okay, so let me do some changes and we'll see that time three options will come: redeploying, undeploying, and then deploying. You can, okay, deploying is already there here. Sorry, deploying is already there here. So what happens here, in between this redeploying and deploying, we have written one command here, deploy to productions, as it runs parallelly. As it runs, because of our code is running parallelly. If you go to the script, right, if you go to the Jenkins file, our code is running parallelly. So that's why the logs are being written haphazardly, whatever being executed first. Okay, if it is sequentially running, then it should have completed staging first and then production. In our case, we are, for demo, we are just running both the staging and productions for the demonstration purpose of this parallel syntax. We are seeing, so parallelly it is running and just updating the logs whatever executed first. So don't get confused on that. Okay, we are running parallelly. Okay,
Okay.
now, okay, thank you. So now let's go ahead and see how we can fully automate this stuff. What happens when you get, as I told, when you get the requirement from the development team, we did all the automations part. We wrote the pipeline, we wrote the Jenkins file, everything. See, whatever guys I'm telling, just remember everything, and just focus on that, because these things what we are really working on our project in the real time, and not just book reading and all. Okay, real time what we are doing, I'm just giving all this so that you'll not struggle whenever you are facing any interviews. See, I'm taking lots of interviews guys, and I see people are just simply coming, and whenever you are just ask some questions, basic questions on Jenkins, and see, nobody, if you are experienced guy, no person will ask some simple basic syntax and all. What they'll ask scenario based questions, right? Scenario, how this will happen, how you can suppose read the properties file, how you can deploy by using this one. So they'll give a scenario and you have to write it here. Sometimes they'll ask you to write your see, remember this, be prepare yourself before you're going for any interviews. Okay, I used to ask people to write, if I feel this guy has no experience, I simply just ask him or her, just write the pipeline syntax. Just write the pipeline syntax. If he can write the pipeline syntax without any kind of fear, or without any kind of delay or any bubbling goggling and all, I'll feel like this guy has already means little confidence will come on her or him, that he has at least know something and he can do the thing if I select him. Okay, so sometimes the interviewer will ask you to write, they'll ask you to share the screen and write the syntax. You remember the syntax, the basic syntax you have to write, right? So what is the syntax? Pipeline, stages, and agent, and whatever you have to give. Okay, and then just within the stages stage, and you have to write the simple very quickly. If you write, right, like pipeline, okay, stages, you can write isn't anything, right, any. So in this time, so you will be very, you should be clever, and so that, so whatever you are just writing, right, make sure you are the professional, you are the experienced one. So you have to write like this. Suppose this part will cover, don't worry. Okay, label ABC machine something. Okay, this is the agent I'm going to run. Now you can directly write the stages, find stage, okay, find steps, fine. This is the syntax, this is the syntax, right? Then if you then you can add multiple stages, multiple steps. So this is simple syntax. If you write clearly, then anybody can understand. This is the declarative way to write the syntax. So what is the scripted way? It will be simple: node and stages. Simple things. It's not so critical, right? It's not so complex. Steps. See? So that's all, right? This is very simple to remember, right? Just make sure that whenever you go interview, make yourself prepared. Don't go there and just bubble and don't able to answer the basic questions. Okay, be prepare yourself whenever you're going. So that's why I'm just giving everything, all real-time scenario based everything, so that you will be perfect whenever you're facing any interviews. Fine. Now let's go ahead. So this part is done. Now I'm going to automate this stuff, so that whenever I hand over the automations, I finish the project, I want to hand over this to the development team, so they can do the continuous development. If any changes happen, they don't have to dependent on the DevOps engineer team to do again the setups. Right now the time has come. What we'll do, we'll set up the automatic trigger options. So how you'll do that? If you go to your pipeline project, right, or any project here, just go to configure, you'll see the build trigger options, right? Build trigger options. So we had seen that poll SCA, which will get trigger every 1 minute interval. The minimum is 1 minute interval. You can set up based on your once in a day, once in a week, once in a month, or every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday, every Monday. At this particular time, whatever if you want set, you can just go with poll SCA. And if you want immediately the build to be triggered as soon as the development team does some changes to the code, what you will do, you have to use the GitHub hook trigger for git scm polling. GitHub hook trigger. So how you will do this setup? Click on this, just select this for this project. Okay, these options. Now save this one. We just selected the option. Okay, but yet we have not set up, we have not integrated GitHub with our Jenkins. Now I'll show you how you do that. Okay, as this particular project, this particular Jenkins project is running for this DevOps web repository. DevOps web repository. So what you have to do, just go to that particular repository. Let me show you from the beginnings, from the scratch, so that you can understand clearly. Go to your repository and you are working on this DevOps web, right? Click on this. Now here you can find one settings, right? Go to this settings and you can find another settings here. Don't go here, just click this settings, because this settings is related and is for this particular repository. Okay, so click on these settings and you'll find one options called webhook, one API called webhook. Just click on this. Okay, earlier I had already set off one webhook, if you can see here. Okay, so it is asking for the authentication. For 1 second, let me just provide the authentication code. 6. Okay, so here it is. So when you create a new one, you'll ask for this payload URL. This payload URL. So what is this payload URL? This is the URL of our Jenkins server. This is the URL of our Jenkins server. So you have to provide the domain name, host name, or DNS name, or IP address of your Jenkins server. Let me copy this IP address. Okay, what I do, simply go to your payload URL and you have to just paste it here. Make sure you just provide HTTP colon, okay, make sure you just provide http colon slash slash the URL, the IP address, right, the IP address of the Jenkins server. And here there is a mistake, I just provide slash, but you should not have provide slash here, colon 8080, got it. And it should be the API, the method should be github hyphen webhook, github hyphen webhook. Now you understood this is the Jenkins URL with the port number slash github hyphen webhook, and nothing need to be changed. Content type simple application JSON, whatever you want, I suppose whatever it is there, select it. Secret is not required. And this part is important, which event would you like to trigger this webhook? Just the push event, send me everything. Let me select individual events. So let me select send me everything. That means any changes happens to the repository, the webhook trigger will be automatically get triggered, and the Jenkins build will start. And the Jenkins build will start. Let me update the webhook. Okay, that's done. Now, so if you see whether this is fine or not, simply go to recent deliveries. Today is 13 August. Okay, today is 13 August 9:40. Okay, around 9:40 it was. You can say maybe due to some jobs will be set up already, so it was just triggering. Now what happens here? Let me just go ahead and do some changes to the code. Do some changes to the code. So after you set up this webhook, make sure you select these options, webhook trigger options, right? GitHub, you select this one, GitHub hook trigger, for you have to select in Jenkins, and then you have to set off this webhooks in the GitHub project, and make sure you provide the Jenkins URL. Make sure you provide the Jenkins URL. Now we integrated the GitHub with our Jenkins, so that what will happen? It will automatically get connected and trigger the build. Now let's do the demo here. Now go ahead and check. So suppose I am going to work on this 1.2 version, right? And our code is 2.5. Now let me change something into the application code, template.xhtml, edit, and let me update it to 2.6. okay, commit the changes. So as soon as I commit the changes, what will happen? If the webhook setup is completely done, what will happen? It will come here and just trigger the event immediately, automatically get triggered. See, I did not do anything, right? As soon as I committed, it automatically triggered the event. It automatically commit. When I committed, automatically triggered the event, and it is success. So if I refresh it here, 2.6. So now I handed over this, I tested everything, I handed over to the developer. Now the developer, he does not require this Jenkins anymore. He just closed, he is not access any Jenkins. I closed the Jenkins server. Okay, suppose he is going to update this something, the new module, new features added, or new versions of things is going to test or deliver. Suppose I'll just add 2.6.2. Just commit the changes. Okay, just wait for few seconds, because the build to start automatically by the Jenkins server. I have closed the Jenkins server, but the Jenkins server is running in the background, right? The Jenkins server is still running. I just closed it. That's okay. The Jenkins server is running. And if I come here and just refresh this, see, this is called continuous development, continuous integration, and continuous delivery or deployment. Now you understood clearly. Now there is no role of DevOps engineer. Once the DevOps engineer handed over, completed the project and handed over to the development team, now is the development team will completely continuously do the development. He'll only focus on the development. He'll not worry about building, he'll not worry about unit testing, he'll not worry about the code scanning, anything. That's the beauty of DevOps actually. Okay, so Jenkins tool provides that functionality. Now it's clear everything. Do you have any doubt, guys?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Now, what we'll see today morning, Jyoti was asking how multiple things can be can be edited. The pipeline script, right? How multiple users can be edited and can be worked. So there is one option available. So I'll not cover today the master and slave architecture because it will take some time to do it. I'll try to finish the Jyoti's one, which is the multi-branch pipeline. Which one is the multi-branch pipeline? We have currently we are currently working on the single pipeline, right? Single pipeline, and multiple users are working. Suppose if multiple users, okay, so for your questions, Jyoti, let me log into the Jenkins server. I closed the Jenkins server, right? Let me log into the Jenkins server. I'll show you. So the Jenkins server is running on the background. Any automatic, any commits happen, any push, any pull, anything happens, automatically the event GitHub hook automatically get triggered. Okay, then Jenkins will start running, start building. Now let me just connect back to the Jenkins server. Now what we need, so far we are working on the single pipelines, right? Suppose I am working on this job. If Ibrahim is going to work on something, so what he has to do, he has to create a new project. He cannot work on the same project because I am working on this, so he cannot work on the same project. What ideally he has to do, if he is working only on pipeline job, he has to create a job, and he can update, he can create a branch, a different branch, update the Jenkins file based on his work, and create a different project and start building it. So it is actually little bit uh, manual work or little bit extra work you have to do it. But how we can achieve this easily? You don't have to create any job, you don't have to create any separate job or any separate things, only you have to create the branch. It is obvious thing because any users or any development team or any DevOps engineer, they have to, as I told in our GitHub class, you have to always create a branch whatever things you are working in your team. Suppose 5 or 6 members are there, what do you have to do? You have to create different branches for the user and start working it, right? Now I'll show you the multi-branch is the last options in our Jenkins to create the project. Okay, just go here, new item, suppose give first multi-branch first multi-branch project, something I gave a name. Okay, and you don't have to select freestyle, or now you don't have to select any pipeline. What you have to, will have one multi-branch pipeline option. What it says, creates a set of pipeline project according to detected branch and one set. So you don't have to create multiple projects. If you select this option, it will automatically create set of project for you based on the pipeline branch. So whatever the number of branches you create, it will create number of projects. You understood clearly? Now let me select it. I'll show you the demo how it works. Okay, select it. Okay, just give a name, something based on your project you have to give. Multi-branch pipeline, I'll just give something called name. Okay, so display name, you have to give name how it will be displayed, right? I can give first multi-branch project description, anything based on your requirement branch project. Now what do you need? The sources branch sources. See, for pipeline we had only 4 tabs, but in case of the multi-branch pipe we have multiple options available here. I'll show you most of the things. Okay, most of the things are not required, and most few of the things are few of the things are not required, and most of the things I'll show you how you can use it. Okay, now the branch source. This branch source, what we have to add? You have to add git. Okay, select git, and you have to provide the project repository. As usual, we have to copy the you have to copy the URL, repository URL, copy it, put it here. Again, based on the repository type, private or public, you have to provide the credentials. Normally for public it will not ask for any credentials, so I'm not selecting anything. Okay, fine. Now the behavior, this is important, guys. Okay, the behavior, if you're not sure about the how you want your branches to be discovered, you have to add into the behavior block. Okay, now click on add. So in these sections you'll see filter by name with wildcard. Okay, all these options are available here, right? So what I want filter by name with wildcards. Okay, use it. And how you use this wildcard, you can just click on this help feature. It will show you how you can use this one. Okay, now just okay, click on this here. So what I want, I'll show you 2-3 demos. So first demo, let me get all the branches whatever been created in this URL, in this project. Okay, all the branches. So star, I don't want to exclude anything, let it be there. And the property strategy is not required anything. This property strategy, right? This properties not required. Build configurations, this build configuration comes, and this build configurations, by what you want to identify the code, by Jenkins file. As it is a pipeline, so we have to use the Jenkins file. Good. And scan multiple branch triggers, so this is for triggering option, so I don't need it. Orphan strategy, what happens, discard old items, simple things. Whenever we set up in our freestyle jobs, we have seen something like discard old builds, discard something similar things are there. Okay, so if not OMT, we'll keep it up to this number of days, fine, leave it. And appearance, meta folder icons, it's just appearance, how it looks like. Okay, health metrics not required. Pipeline library, this is the options this is the advanced one, and we have a separate half day of classes of pipeline libraries, how we'll create the library and work. This is the advanced one, and definitely will get questions on this. Okay, most experienced guys, everyone whoever works on Jenkins, he must have to work on this pipeline libraries. In our next class, maybe tomorrow classes, I'll show you this pipeline libraries. We have a half day classes on libraries alone. Okay, so now what do we do? This Maven configuration is not required because we already have written in our pipeline, right? This Maven configuration is not required because we already have written in our pipeline. So now you don't have to do it anything really. Simple thing is just use the branch source, provide the repository. Okay, and just we are going to work on this filter by name. Okay, star, to discover everything. Now let's all every Jenkins file, that's all. Go ahead, save the changes. So as soon as you save, it will do a scan automatically. And it will find the complete history, complete branch list. See, and it automatically all branches are started here, and you can see here everything has been found. Now if I go to this job, you will see there will be only one first multi-branch project. See how many jobs automatically, how many projects automatically created for you. See how many projects automatically created for me. So multiple people can trigger their job respectively. In case of pipeline, you have to create a separate job and work for you, right? But if you have multiple users, simply one multi-branch job you create, and you can work on multiple projects simultaneously, right? So here I have given the filter as star. So how it gives, how it got all these informations. If you go here, right, we have 11 branches, right? We have 11 branches here. So all these branches, right, all these branches, all these branches has been have been actually fetched here. All the branches have been fetched here and created separate jobs, created separate jobs here. Now if I go here, see all these branches, right, all these branches, separate jobs created. Now if I go here, we have 10 jobs, right? All these most of the things are running automatically as part of the scanning. I don't need these things. Let me terminate it. Okay, let me terminate. So how to terminate? Simply click this cross mark and you are going to terminate the jobs. Okay, most of the time thumbs are terminated. Okay, and few of them are waiting. Once I terminate, these things are coming. Okay, what is this, guys? Why all these things are in build queue? Simultaneously, how many jobs? Most of the jobs started running, right? And only few jobs started running, and the rest of the things were in queue wait. Why? This is a real time
Because
course. Okay.
executor will depend this much.
Okay. So because we have only two executors, we have only build executor. Actually, we have only two. That's why only two jobs can be executed simultaneously, and the rest of the things will be under build queue. Rest of the things will be under build queue. We'll have complete exercise, complete class on master and slave architecture. That time I'll show you how to generate extra executor, generate set up the agent and everything. We have a separate class on this, and that time I'll explain everything with this project. Okay, you'll clearly understand. So don't focus on that, but just remember, based on the executor capacity of that agent. So we are currently running on the master server. We don't have a separate server. If all the builds are running on the master server, we have not any separate build server so far in our master and slave architecture. I'll explain you that part. Okay, so now you clearly understand how this branch things works. Okay, now let me little modify it. Okay, let me just terminate this queue wait also, because this things unnecessary blocking everything. Okay, now just refresh whether this scan is still okay. Everything is terminated, nothing is there. Now let me twist something, this filter things, right? Go to the configure, and what I need, suppose we are suppose working on only dev branches. All these branches is not required, only dev branches. Okay, what are the dev branches? What I'll do here, simply go to your project, and instead of star, just give dev star, just give dev star. Okay, save the changes. As soon as you save, it will scan automatically. It will scan automatically, and it finds the particular dev branches. And what it does, it removed the branches which are already being set up as part of the first setup, job setup, right? Now if I go here, we'll have only two. Why we have only one, guys? Only dev 1.1 b4. Where is another one? Can anybody answer? We have only one came. However, we can see we have dev, two branches are there, right? in our, but only one branch filtered out. Quick, 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 quick. Anybody? Let's see the logs. Let's see the logs. This is very important, guys. Okay, I'll show you. Just go to, okay, anyway, scan pipeline logs, right? Just go to the logs, and here, see what happens. Based on the Jenkins file, it creates the project. Remember, this is a pipeline job, right? This is a pipeline project. It will scan the GitHub repository. If that particular project or branch finds the Jenkins file, then it will create the project, otherwise it will not create. So what happens, it just checking the branch based on the filter dev 1.1, Jenkins file found, met the criteria, and it created the job. Okay, now what happens, it checking the branch dev as per the filter, Jenkins file not found and does not meet the criteria, so it did not create the job. Simple. Okay, so we can see here we have, that's why we can see only one job here. Okay, similarly, any changes you want, you can do, and just twist the filter and you will find it out. If you are working on feature branch, simply just go there and create feature. If you want to build both dev and feature, both dev and feature, or dev and test, what you'll do, simply go ahead, just little twist here, give a space, give test dot test star, dev star space test star, save it. As soon as save, it will scan the job. Okay, so what happens, it finds the Jenkins file in dev 1.1, 1.2, there is no one, and it finds the Jenkins file in test 1.1. So if I go to this project, see we have both dev 1.1 and test 1.1 jobs are there. Okay, everything is clear, guys. Do you have any doubt to discuss?
Hello sir, suppose we create a new branch in GitHub account.
Okay, that's also cool. Nice question, Jyoti. So let me do that as example. As okay, so as for Jyoti, suppose a new user or suppose you created a new branch. Okay, so let me go ahead and create a new branch. Suppose I'll create as I'll get a new branch from the suppose test 1.1. Okay, I'll create a new branch. So suppose it is called test hyphen 1.2. I created test 1.2 from test 1.1. Simple, right? Just select it one. I created a new branch called test 1.2. So what will happen? Logically, it should have three jobs, right? Logically, it should have three jobs. If I go to first multi-branch project, logically it should have, but we have only one test one, but where is another one? So what we have to, let me just terminate these things. Okay, unnecessary it is running, and it will get time out. Fine, it's cleared now. So what happened here, we can see here we have only one. So why, so what we have to do to reflect that one? I created the job here. I created a branch. Logically, the other, that branch also should reflect based on the filter. To get it, you have to scan it. Okay, you have to click this scan button. You have to click this scan. So what it does, it will scan it, find it out the branches. Okay, find it out. Okay, sorry, it is the log. I click it. So you have to scan this one. You have to scan, we have two, right? You just scan this multiple pipeline now. So what it will do, I clicked it, right? Yeah, it is now scanning. It is now scanning. Go to the scan logs. See, test 1.2 also being found. If I go to the project, we'll have, see, we'll have test 1.2 now has come. So any number of branches you can create if you want to reflect it here, and it matches the criteria. It matches the filter criteria. Just simply you have to click on the scan multi-branch, okay? Because it will scan the GitHub repository and display you here. Let me terminate this. I don't need. Good. No, now everything is good, right? So do you have any other further doubts or anything, guys? Or we can wind up this call. We are too much today. Everything in one day you cannot digest. Maybe some you have to do little practice before coming to tomorrow's classes. So tomorrow classes will discuss about the master and slave architecture, little advanced one. Once we finish that one, then we'll move into the shared library concept, and we are yet to learn few more things, advanced concepts on the Jenkins. Okay, email setups and a lot more things are there. We'll try to complete in another one or two classes, and then once we move on with other DevOps tools like Ansible, like Docker and Kubernetes and Terraform, and how those tools can be integrated with Jenkins, that we'll see it. Okay, we'll try to finish this Jenkins in another 2 or 3 classes max. Okay, fine. That's all for today, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on the same time. Okay.